Writing equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. All right, so here's the state standards for today. There's only a couple. And your success criteria, you need to be able to identify parallel and perpendicular lines from their equations. You need to be able to write equations of parallel lines, and you need to be able to write equations of perpendicular lines. All right, your vocabulary is always very important. Parallel lines are two distinct non-vertical lines are parallel if and only if they have the same slope. All right, same slope. That is very important. Parallel lines are two lines in the same plane that never intersect. Perpendicular lines are non-vertical lines. Non-vertical lines are perpendicular if and only if their slopes are negative reciprocals. Perpendicular lines are two lines in the same plane that intersect to form right angles. Remember, a right angle is a 90-degree angle. So if two lines cross to form 90-degree angles, then those are considered perpendicular lines. Here's a picture, and in the key idea here, you can see that -2 and +1/2 are negative reciprocals of each other. So that shows that those lines are perpendicular and they have a 90-degree angle. They have right angles when they cross. Example 1, identifying parallel lines. Determine which of the lines are parallel. All right, so remember we have to have the same slope. Parallel lines have the same slope. So there's a couple different ways you can find slope. You can do rise over run. Since it's a graph, that's probably the easiest, and that's what we'll do. But you can also do what we've been doing the last couple units is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Remember, rate of change formula is also helps you identify the slope. All right, since we have a graph and it's easy to identify these points here, we can say it's going to rise -1, and it's going to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for A, it's going to be -1 over 5. So that's the slope for A. For B, we can do the same thing. We can do rise over run. So it's going to rise -1, and it's going to run 1, 2, 3, 4. So down 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So slope -1 over 4. And C part is going to go down 1. So it's going to rise -1. And it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so just check it again. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's just doing rise over run. So you can see that the slope for A and the slope for C are the same, which means A and C are parallel lines. It's that simple, and that's all you have to do. So remember, even though these lines look parallel, the red line has a slope, B has a slope slightly different than A and C. So at some point, if A and B went far enough, those would eventually intersect. Same thing with B and C. If those two went far enough, they would eventually intersect. So those are not parallel. So to make sure they have the same slope, that ensures that you are looking at parallel lines. Example 2, writing an equation of a parallel line. Write an equation of the line that passes through 5, -4, and is parallel to the line y equals 2x plus 3. All right, so you have to use what you know. You have to use what you've been learning. So we know parallel lines have the same slope, so we know we're going to have a slope of 2 because y equals 2x plus 3. 2 in this equation is the slope. And if we're writing an equation that's parallel to this line, then our new line has to have the same slope as well. We're also given a point, 5, -4. So if we have a point and a slope, we can write an equation in point-slope form. Remember from the previous lesson, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So you should have this in your notes. Make sure you always have your notes available in case you forget. These are equations that you should get familiar with, though, as we work through these lessons. The more familiar you get with definitions and formulas, the easier math will be. All right, so we have a point x1, y1. So here we've got our x and our y. So our y is -4. So y minus -4 equals our slope, 2 times x minus our x value from our point, which is 5. So because it's negative, we're going to do negative x. So -5. All right, we can simplify this a little bit. We can do y plus 4 equals 2 times x minus 5. Now it just says write an equation of a line that passes through this point and is parallel to this. So this is an acceptable equation. If you want to go ahead and write it in slope-intercept form, we can distribute this 2. So we're going to do 2 times x, which is 2x, and 2 times -5, which is -10, and then subtract 4 from both sides. That's going to give us y equals 2x minus 10 minus 4 is -14. And this is probably the best equation. So that's an equation in slope-intercept form. All right, I want you to take a moment and try to do the self-assessment. It says write an equation of the line that passes through the given point and is parallel to the given line. It gives you a point and an equation. You know parallel lines have the same slope, so you're going to work it out exactly like this. Pause the video, work this on your own, and come back to see if you get the right answer. Okay, hopefully you took time to work this out on your own, and you did the same thing. You found the slope using the equation, same slope, and then you put it in point-slope form. Then you could rewrite it in slope-intercept form if you want, and you should have got y equals -2x minus 3. If you got that, congratulations. If not, just take a little bit more time to get some more practice, and it will get easier. Example 3, identifying parallel and perpendicular lines. Determine which of the lines, if any, are parallel or perpendicular. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is identify the slope of each line. Line A is in slope-intercept form, so y equals 4x plus 2. We know the slope is 4, so that is the easiest way to determine a slope is if it's in slope-intercept form. B part is in standard form, and C part is as well. So before we determine the slope, we have to put it in slope-intercept form. So for B part, line B, let's write this in slope-intercept form. So we've got x plus 4y equals 3. We're going to subtract x from both sides. Remember, we're trying to solve 4y. So bring down the 4y. We're going to put our slope first, so we're going to have -x plus 3, and then we divide the entire equation by 4. So y equals -1/4 x plus 3/4. So now we can determine the slope is -1/4. All right, for C part, we've got -8y minus 2x equals 16. We're going to add, let's add 2x to both sides. Remember, when you have a number with a variable, you cannot add that with just a number. So I'm going to put the 2x first, since that's the part with the slope, and then plus 16. All right, just trying to put it in the correct form. So we're going to divide, again, everything by the coefficient of y, which is -8. So y equals 2 divided by 1/8 is -1/4. 16 divided by -8 is negative 2. So again, the slope is negative 1/4. All right, so line B and line C are parallel because they have the same slope and different y-intercepts. So line B is parallel to line C. And you can use these two straight lines like this, that's just a symbol for parallel. All right, 4 and negative 1/4 are negative reciprocals of each other. So these have negative reciprocals of each other, so they should intersect at a 90-degree angle. So lines A is perpendicular to line B. All right, so a slope of 4 and a slope of negative 1/4, again, are negative reciprocals of each other. So A is also perpendicular to C. Example 4, write an equation of a perpendicular line. Write an equation of the line that passes through negative 3, 1 and is perpendicular to the line y equals 1/2 x plus 3. All right, so now we're looking at perpendicular. Before we were looking at parallel. Parallel has the same slope. Perpendicular has a slope that's the negative reciprocal. So what does that mean? If we know the slope of this line is 1/2, what is the negative reciprocal? Well, this is a fraction. To find the slope that's a negative reciprocal, you simply have to flip it and change the sign. So it's that easy. So the reciprocal, if I flip 1/2, it's going to be 2/1, and then change the sign, it becomes negative 2/1. 2/1 is the same thing as negative 2. All right, so 1/2 times negative 2, if you multiplied those together, they would equal negative 1. So you know if you got the reciprocal, if you multiply the products of those, and you get negative 1. All right, now to write the equation. So now we have, again, we need the equation y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. All right, so this is an equation that you should become very familiar with. I've said this before, but this is point-slope form. Given a point and a slope, you can write an equation. All right, so we're going to go y minus, this is x, this is y, so our y is 1, equals m, our slope is negative 2, x minus, our x value is negative 3. All right, simplify or put it in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to have negative 2x plus 3. Remember, negative 3 is plus 3. And now I can distribute the negative 2. Negative 2 times x, negative 2x. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. Add 1 to both sides. Y equals negative 2x. Negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5. So write an equation. That is the best type of equation, but this equation would also work. All right, self-assessment. You need to try to work this on your own. It should be very similar to the one above it. When you have time to work it out, come back to see if you get the answer. All right, hope you took time to actually work this out. Remember, negative 3 can be written as a fraction, negative 3/1. If I flip it and change the sign, that gives me a slope of 1/3. So I know a line that's perpendicular to this line will have a slope of 1/3. I'm given a slope and a point. I put it in point-slope form, and then I solve for y to put it in slope-intercept form. Hopefully you got y equals 1/3 x plus 6.